Hey, you probably think, oh, I know everything about love. But today we're going to talk about the 5 shocking truths that nobody ever taught you about love with Love Is best-selling author Kim Sorrelle, and we'll be right back. You're on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. I'm Vickie Helm. This is the Coffee Break Show. Today, I'm with Kim Sorrelle, who I just want to say hello and welcome to the Coffee Break Show with you.
Vickie, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know that maybe perhaps a lot of people, don't know about you. And I'm just going to give them, kind of the quick overview, just a little bit. I know that you are a cancer surviving entertainer, widow, and an expert on love, which right away, just that was thrilling. I really like that. But you're also the director of a humanitarian organization. You're also a speaker. And I know that after being diagnosed just for 4 months apart from your husband, you were away from your husband when he was battling cancer. Is that correct? And you wrote this book and chronicled the years of that. Is that true? Did I get that right?
Well, he was diagnosed 4 months after I was diagnosed with cancer. So I was going through my cancer, but we were together. And
Wow.
so, yeah, 4 months after my breast cancer diagnosis, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and then
Oh, wow.
passed away 6 weeks after that.
Yeah, pancreatic cancer, that's definitely the unknown killer, isn't it?
It is.
I want to talk about the reason why you wrote the book Love Is. And then I want to get really deeply because I know a lot of people think love is the first part where it's all roses and candy and sex and everything else. And I'm like, okay, that's the beginning of a relationship. But I have a feeling we're going to go deeply into that. And you have this 5 shocking truths that we were never taught about love. So let's start with why you wrote the book. And then let's start answering some of those shocking truths that we want to know about.
Okay, sounds great. Yeah. Well, I was married for almost 29 years. I was in my 40s when my husband passed away. I thought I had my life planned. I thought we were going to be those 95-year-old people on rockers drinking lemonade, sitting on a front porch and staring at each other, whatever it is 95-year-old people do on a front porch. And all of a sudden, I had this whole different life and I had to reinvent. I had to figure out what my life was even going to look like. And so it made me question some things. And love was one of them. There seems to be this mystery about love. Like, what is it really? And it's defined different ways by different people. And then we watch Nicholas Sparks movies and listen to Ed Sheeran songs. And then we think love should be a certain way. And so I decided I needed to figure it out. Somebody needed to figure it out. It might as well be me.
This is so interesting. This is happening right now because my aunt was married to her husband for 42 years, and he just lost his battle of cancer. And what I know about that, because one of my best friends lost her husband of 42 or 43 years. And there's just this unknown zone, if you will. There's just this space. There's this all the dreams you had, all the thoughts you had about what was going to happen. And then suddenly, flash, it's all gone. And you said something that was very interesting. You said it's kind of like you had to reinvent yourself. And I'm wondering, tell us more about that. And how do you go about that after something so devastating happens?
Well, you're part of a couple, right?
Yeah.
The two shall become one, whatever
Yeah.
you say I do, and you just want to die on the same day after that. You don't want to have this separation. And so it was certainly part of my identity. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a strong woman. I've coached basketball for 25 years, I coached volleyball for 17 years, I have run things, I'm on boards, whatever, doing life and doing an independent life, but I was part of a couple, and that was part of
So
who I
true.
was. Yeah. And all of a sudden that's gone. And with widows, it took me a while before I'd even use that word, by the way, because it sounds so bad. It sounds like a 95-year-old woman in black or something. I don't know. But the statistics are horrible. Like widows lose 75% of their friends. 75% of them, if they're going to church, change churches, and we gain 15 pounds. Like, what is that about? Like, we're already going through enough. But if you think about it, you could have friends that are other couples, and all of a sudden you're
Yeah,
not.
you're not a couple anymore. That's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And the weight gain, I don't know, maybe it's because you buy the ice cream and you're no longer sharing it. So you eat all of it. I don't know why that happens, but
You know, Kim, this is so interesting because I know for fact that the average woman is widowed at 59. The average woman is widowed at 59. Men are having, that's what they call the widowmaker years. And, there can be heart attacks, diseases, or anything. And, it's more that men also don't go to hospitals or doctors like women do. And yet there is this whole situation where when you get together, somehow you feel like you're going to be older than dirt together. Like, oh, when we're in our 90s and we're rocking and, gumming our food together and drinking lemonade on the porch or something, that there's going to be this magic piece to life. And we never prepare ourselves for the possibility. And even thinking about that possibility scares the crap out of anyone. Anybody who's truly in love with their partner doesn't want to look at the possibility or the eventuality that you will be single again, one of you. And maybe you die together, but that's like a smaller number. So now you're here and you're completely in your grief and you're completely thinking, oh my God, I was a couple. You've lost 75% of your friends. Maybe you're at a new church. Maybe you're meeting somebody. Maybe you're not. And I know what I would probably do. I'm not sure it's the right thing to do, but I want to know what they can do. I would go find some grief places to work out my grief with, like meet other people who have lost their spouses or et cetera. I'm not sure what that is. But then there's something in me that would say, okay, this has happened and it sucks. But now, what do you want? And how do we get to the point where we are allowing our grief to be there, but not letting us stop us from re-engaging? And how long can that take? Because grief is very personal. It doesn't go, okay, 2 weeks, it's done, I'm over with, okay, I'm mourning, I'm done. I mean, how do we do that? Do you understand my question?
yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. Grief is not one size fits all.
Yeah.
Everybody grieves differently. But I think that they're, coming to a point of living again, breathing again, right? And being able to live fully again. Some people can stay so stuck in their grief.
Yeah.
And I think there's different reasons for it. But I think one of the things that happens is people feel like if they live fully again, somehow they're dishonoring the person who died. Like then they're not staying in
Yes.
the memory, right? But everybody out there, you've got permission to live again. Sometimes I think that's the ticket is you need to feel like you have permission to do it. And for me, I believe it's more honoring to be happy again, to laugh and to live a full life. Because if you've had this great life with somebody and all of a sudden you're a different person in a down and out way, you're not honoring those great years together. Where
That's
if you really live fully and give and be happy, then it's as if you're saying, "I'm living for both of us, and thanks, baby, for giving me these great years."
wow. This is so interesting what you're saying because if you go through a divorce, you're allowed to pick up the pieces and move on and be happy. And really, if you're truly divorced in a healthy way, both partners want that for each other. I want you to be happy. I want to be happy. But when one of you passes away, that guilt thing that you were like, if I'm happy again, I'm not honoring their memory. That's so true. I think that's one of the biggest hooks or catches right in there. I can't be happy again because then I'm not honoring their memory. And the thing is, if they die when you're young, if they die when you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, there's so much life to still be had that you can still give back. And so let me ask you, after this happened, I don't know how long your cancer battle was, but the both of you going through it together, was there a point where you knew that you were sick and he was going to pass away and you had to go through this again? Or did you get healthy and suddenly you had to rebuild everything and go through that grief as well?
While I was still dealing with my cancer when he passed away. In fact, I started writing when I was diagnosed. I started writing a book. Cry Until You Laugh is the name of it, because
Yeah.
I believe that's what you have to do. Cry, of course, cry, but of course, then laugh again. It's okay to laugh again. But so I was writing, and then continued writing when he was diagnosed and when he passed away, which was great therapy for me. And of course, when I started writing, I had no idea that was going to happen with him. And I continued to write for about a year, and I was ready to go back to work, uh, finally, at about a
Mhm.
year out. So I still had to go through some things after he passed away. So it was,
Yeah.
I think, odd to go through this time, and 6 weeks. I mean, we had this great 6 weeks together. We just were at home watching Cash Cab, and, just having a good time playing some gin rummy, whatever, together, and had no idea that it was going to be that big. So we didn't have any of the conversations like, that you might have when you know that it's the end. And it happened so quickly for him. Like, he was doing great, and his pain's under control, and everything was great. And
Yeah.
his birthday was in August. He died in March. His birthday was in August. And I'm making plans. Maybe we can go spend a weekend, whatever. And he woke up on a Sunday morning in pain. And I called the hospice nurse. She came right over, and she gave him more morphine to get him comfortable. And he was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I was behind him hanging on because I didn't want him to fall. And I could just feel his agony. And the hospice nurse was standing right there, and she was on the phone ordering a hospital bed and commode, whatever equipment. And I said, "Do I call my kids?" And she's like, "No, no, no. You got lots of time. You got lots of time." But I could just
Wow.
feel him, and so I said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "No, really, you have plenty of time. Don't worry, don't worry. Weeks, if not months." I'm like, "Okay." And so, but because I guess we were so connected, whatever, I just knew that he was so miserable that I whispered in his ear and I said, "Baby, just go." And that was it. He never took another breath. That was it.
Yeah. That is, mm, I want to say that melts my heart because true love is letting them go. That's the true love piece of it. That's like, um, and I know there are a lot of people right now listening to this show who are going through this kind of experience right now, whether you have somebody who's terminally ill and they think they have a long time or a short time, because it was just like, hey, you have plenty of time. Don't even call the kids, baby, just go. And setting that person free, because the truth was he was probably staying here because he didn't want to hurt you. And that's
Mhm.
the truth of it right there. And I think the courage and the vulnerability that took, that is so humanitarian, in my opinion. I want to go to that 5 shocking truths that were never taught about love. Let's jump into those. And I want to say thank you for being so open. I mean, so raw and real. I just think this is going to help other people who are going through this situation right now. And there's an escalation of that in the world right now. And people are grieving and they need help and they don't know what to do and they need to feel like they're okay. And I want to talk one little thing that I want to talk to the caretakers right now, the people who are caretaking and have long term illnesses and their spouse or the person they were caretaking was gone, and you dance between grief and relief. And that grief and relief is okay. It's part of the process. Don't feel guilty about feeling relieved, and don't feel guilty about your grief as well. They're both there. And the relief also is not just that you don't have to work so hard anymore. It's the relief that she just described, that Kim just shared with us, about letting that person go, because they're happy once they're let go of. Now it's your turn to come back and be happy. Let's talk about the 5 truths that nobody's ever taught about love. Let's do that now. Thank you, Kim, for being here. Really.
Yeah, well, no problem. I let me just throw in one thing about grief. When I was finally able to go back to work, when I was ready, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I ended up not going back into my businesses. I had people running them and everything was
Yeah.
fine. And so I took a job as a part-time bookkeeper for a humanitarian organization. And 12 days after I started that part-time job, there was an earthquake in Haiti that killed 200,000 people.
I
So
remember
I
that.
went to
I know what year.
24/7. Yeah. And then within 2 weeks, I was in Haiti. And then for the next several years, I was in Haiti for at least part of every month. And
Wow.
one thing that I never had heard before, that is just so, so true, is there is healing in service. There is healing in
Yes.
service. If you can get outside
Yes.
yourself and give to others, I don't think there's a better healer of grief than that is.
Wow. First off, I want to say I think this is an extraordinary conversation, because healing begins with service. I love that so much, because it's so true. On It doesn't matter whether it's an earthquake or whether it's your family or whether it can be local, it can be anything. But that first move into caring about something else has to happen. I mean, yes, you cared about the person that you loved. Yes, you cared about whether it was your husband or your child or whatever. That memory of them is alive and well when you go into service, because you're always going to remember the why you went into service, to helping others. I'm like, wow, talk about dropping truth bombs. Kim is just delivering today. You guys pay attention to here. And I just want to, before we get into the 5 shocking truths, I'm just telling everybody who's in love right now and you're getting married, you're buying the house, get your life insurance in order. Get your life insurance in order now. Okay, that's the financial discussion. We're done. Get it done. But now I want to talk about your book, Love Is, and I want to talk about these 5 truths about love that we're not taught about.
Yeah, well, my journey to figure this out is decided I would dedicate a year to figuring out the truth about love, about what it is. And I use this 2,000-year-old poem that you hear at a lot of weddings. Your eyes kind of glaze over because we hear it so much. Love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast. And I decided I would take one word a month and work on what is love that is patient, what is love that is kind. And
Mm,
the first thing I figured out is that there are 14 is in essence of love in that poem. And so it took me a little longer than a year, but I did it. And each one of those blew my mind. Each one was so different than what I thought it was going to be. You put love is or love is not in front of any word, it changes the meaning, completely changes the meaning.
yes,
Yeah. So one of the things about love is that we think of it as a feeling or an emotion, but it isn't. That's
that's
not what
right.
it is. Fear is fear, excitement. Those are you watch a scary movie. That night you hear every creak, every bump, every right, whatever is happening, you're scared to death.
Yeah.
But you don't live in that. You don't live in fear. Every day is not Disney World. You don't live in excitement, but you
Mm,
live in love. Love is who you are. Love is who
that's
you
right.
are. It's all encompassing. And so it's walking and talking and living and giving and breathing. It's not something you hang up in the closet when you get home. It's not something that you should take away because he leaves his dirty underwear on the bathroom floor. It's who you are, and how you decide to live it is up to you. And how you are currently living it, it's up to you. You have total control over that. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, so knowing that changes things, right? Knowing that love
Yeah.
is so much more than an emotion, that
Yeah,
alone
I always
changes things.
I always tell everybody love is an energy. It's in everything. It's like electricity. And the cool thing about love as an electricity is it's got a literal volume like and a heater does. Like if you're on a stove, you can have low love and have it warm and simmering, or high love. And if literally, if the energy of love, if the energy itself hit you at its full expression, it's going to sound crazy, but your body would literally explode. It's no different than being struck by lightning. It's an energy force that exists within everyone. It's what everything and everyone is made of. So you're right. Love isn't something you have, love is something you are. And the key question is, how much are you going to let that out of you? That love, that's that stove. Is it low? Is it high? Is it medium? What does the situation call for? And I love that you said it. It's so true. That is what you are. It's not what you have. Beautiful. Love it. What's number two?
Number two is one thing that we hear often, that a lot of us have heard, is that love's a two-way street. It's
Oh,
not. Love is a one-way street. Love is on you, period. You only control yourself. You have no control over anybody else. So if I give you money and you gave me a pair of jeans, that's a transaction. If I
that's right.
give you love to get love, that's a transaction. Love is not a transaction. You have a baby, you bring a baby home from the hospital, and you have total control. You decide when the baby eats, when the baby goes down for a nap, when the baby takes a bath. You are in control. But then 6, 7, 8 months later, all your Tupperware is all over the kitchen floor and your pots and pans are banging. You realize that you have lost total control and you will never get it back again.
Yeah.
So you have no control over anyone. So if you give love to get love, which that's not love, but if you do that, you're setting yourself up for heartache and
Disappointment.
loneliness,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, disappointment. Love is something you give, period. It's You don't give it to get it back. That can't be the motivation. It is a one-way street.
It's so interesting that you're saying this, because I know as a mom, when they're young and they're just absolutely, pulling your hair out that day, and at the same time, you wouldn't have it any other way because they're expressing themselves. When you can enjoy the expression that maybe would drive you nuts, that to me is love. There's an expression inside of you that, when the puppy has chewed your shoe up, and you love that puppy. You can't change the puppy. You have no control of them chewing the shoe. And at that moment, that's his expression of love. Loved you so much, you weren't there. So the smell of your shoe, the smell of that and chewing it, if we can see and receive the expression of love, that's them. When a child is safe enough to pull all the Tupperware out and bang those pots and know that they're safe and loved, that's how they receive your love as well. I'm loving this conversation very much. It's like we have to see love from a different point of view and a different perspective in order to recognize when it's right in front of us, and how we can be in love in that moment. I love it. What's number three?
Number three is that love has no expectations, zero expectations,
Oh my
zero,
God, I wish I were
zero.
better at that. I wish I were better at that. Don't we all have that? Oh
Yes,
God, yeah.
yeah, don't we all? When I was early married, I got married young, and when I was early in our marriage, I thought I'd surprise my husband. I was so excited. I thought I'm going to take this time and really make a special evening, and so I cleaned our apartment and put candles on the table. I made his favorite dinner, lasagna. He loved lasagna. His favorite dessert was German chocolate cake, and I made one from scratch, so
Oh
I'm
wow.
pretty proud of myself, right? And then I put on something a little sexy, to greet him at the door, and he comes in, And it's like any other day. He's like, oh, hi, how are you? Doesn't say a word. Doesn't say, hey, baby, you look so good. Or man, the apartment looks so great. He said nothing. He said nothing. We sit down for dinner and I got the candles lit. I didn't do that every night, but he said nothing. He's just eating his food like it's any other day, like it's, Kentucky Fried Chicken or something. And he says nothing and nothing. And the longer the time went on, the angrier I got. So by the time dessert was happening, I practically threw it at him. And he said, are you mad? I'm like, am I mad? Yes, yes, I'm mad. He said, well, what? Why are you mad? I said, you have said nothing. I did all this for you. You've said nothing. And he said, wait a minute. He said, first of all, I can't read your mind. Secondly, I did nothing wrong. It's your expectations that got you in trouble. And I'm like, you're not my dad. You're my husband. What are you trying to teach me a lesson? What is this? Made me madder, right? My expectations. So I go into my bedroom, I slam the door, and I'm thinking, who does he think he is? My expectation. He's blaming me. He's totally screwed. He's blaming me, my expectations. And then I want my expectations. Needed that a day. I need you to say these things to me. He can't read my mind. I found out it's true. He couldn't ever read my mind. 29 years, he couldn't read my mind. And it was totally my expectations that got me in trouble. Well, so love is kind is the perfect example of that. So love is kind. We do kind things. We show kindness. We're kind people, right? But love that is kind, does kind things with zero expectations, zero. And so I've heard people, you probably have to say, gosh, they didn't even say thank you.
Yeah.
Or I went to their daughter's wedding. Where the heck are they at mine? Right? Well,
Yeah.
if you're doing something to get something, that's not love. It might be kind, but it's not love that is kind. It is not love. And there's this difference, Vickie, this wonderful difference in when you recognize that, when you realize that you should have zero expectations of getting anything in return. It almost cheapens things when you do get something in return. Like, gosh, did they feel obligated to do something for me because I did something for them? Like, then you want to just give, you want to just be kind because that's what love does.
It's interesting when you're saying this because I can remember so many times, and when you said that expectation, I was like, "Oh gosh." A lot of times people try to speak by actions instead of speak in words, and they hope their actions kinda trigger somebody else to suddenly know, and if you're not paying attention and they don't suddenly know, you get somehow upset at that, and the 5 love languages, the 5 love
Mhm.
languages? Okay, so um, my partner and I are looking at the 5 love languages, and her love languages is acts of service, which isn't my love language. My love language is our words of encouragement. Communication is super big to me, and acts of service. And what I noticed for a while, and so did she, was I kept trying to encourage her. I'm like giving my love the way I love to receive love. And then she's giving love the way she loves to receive love. And suddenly we realize that's not working for us. We actually have to receive in the way we like to receive. And our expectations of how love is or how we want it, I think it's so important to express that to a partner, to say something like, I like romantic dinners, and when I have romantic dinners, it makes me feel romantic, or I like nights on the town, or whatever it is. Tell your partner what you like so that when they do something special for you, you might notice. And if you're doing something special for someone, say so. Like, I think that hidden thing, I think that's so good. What's number 4? That last one was really good. I really related to that one so many times.
Yeah, well, and just to go ahead just a little bit further with what you're saying is, I think because of movies, because of what we see, because
Yeah,
of what we're
yeah,
taught about love, because
yeah.
then there's so many things we're taught that aren't love. There's so many things done in the name of love, said in the name of love that aren't love, right?
Yeah.
So we have all these misconceptions, and one of them is that we should get all dolled up and feel great about ourselves. And he should naturally, or she should naturally say, baby, you look so good.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't, baby, you look so good. Like my husband was not romantic and did not give compliments. And he said it's because he was left-handed. I don't believe that's true. I don't think it has anything to do with being left-handed. But I had to come to a point where I didn't get mad because he didn't say anything, but
Mhm.
I actually then would ask for it and not feel like it cheapens the reaction. So often we feel
Yeah.
like if we have to ask for it, then whatever they say is null and void or
Yeah.
half of what it should be. And it shouldn't be like that. You communicate, say, how do I look? Whatever. And I also think there's something about when they don't say, gosh, you look so great. Well, then if that's what's happening, then you might question, well, how do I look otherwise? Because I have a new dress on, all of a sudden I look so great. So,
Yeah.
we can't get caught up in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, take it for what it is. Take it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird learning to express love in the form that your partner can receive it or understand it. That's kind of a ongoing thing. It's like, the person you met when you first fell in love after year number 10 isn't the same person. They've grown, they're different, they're evolving. That's what everybody does. Now, they look the same, so we have in our minds that they are the same. And really meeting them in that different place over and over and over again can be refreshing, especially if you use words. Like, this used to be important to me, but now this is important to me. And I really like this. I also do this thing where if my partner does something extraordinary, because they will, like you did in Haiti, like when you went to Haiti for every month for, I'm like, whoa, right after that, you get a picture in your mind of how courageous or strong they have to be in order to accomplish that, and what they've seen and how they've helped and all the pain they feel of all this thing that they've done. Well, somewhere along the way, whether I don't care whether what they do for a profession, there's something that everyone does that's really great. And pointing out someone's greatness instead of that criticizing something all the time, that to me is the one way I show love, just silently, just by saying, oh my God, what you did there was amazing. And I feel like every person in whatever process they are in their life does amazing things. They just don't know that they are doing amazing things in the moment. And they just, what is that? What is that meme? It's like, you never know how strong you are until you have to be, or something like that.
Mm.
And when your friend is going through something so strong, or your friend has to be strong, or your spouse has to be strong, whoever it is, one of the kindest, most loving things you can say to them is, I know this has got to be tough, and I see how strong you're being. And if you need a moment to talk or break down or chill out or get some relief or something, that's literally the best way you can be with your friend or somebody that's going through that, is just notice they're going through that. And I don't know how I got onto that, but I kind of want to get to number 4, but I really love number 3 because expectations are huge. They're a huge self-sabotager when we have them.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. They are. And I love what you just said. You put
Mm.
it so well. I mean, that's so true. And it's so good. So thanks. I'd love to hear that. That was awesome. That was great.
Thank So, number 4?
So number 4, which by the way, there's probably 25 or 30,000 of them, but number 4.
I'm just going to 5 today.
Yeah. So
Buy her book.
right. So number 4 is that you love the person, not the things they do. So often we fall in love, or we have a friend that we just adore, we love them, and even put them on a pedestal of sorts, or think that somehow they're so great and that's why we're so drawn to them. But then something happens and you're like, gosh, like like getting married. You're in love and you can't wait to spend the rest of your life with somebody. And so then you get married because you're in love with the person, because that's who you fall in love with is the person. But then he leaves his dirty underwear on the floor. He doesn't help with the dishes. And all of a sudden you're withdrawing your love. And you're like, why did I marry this guy? Like, who does he think he is? He lives like a barbarian. Like, but those are things that he's doing. Those are things that's not who he is. Throwing his stuff around, that's not who he is. It's stuff that he's doing. And love separates those two things because you love who they are. You love who a person is, not the things they do.
And love hires a housekeeping service so that the other love doesn't have to continually go through that. But we do have to understand the difference between who they are as a person and what's being done. Because I know sometimes where I don't care how long it's been. There is some point in the relationship where I have had a meltdown over something. It could have been work, it could have been a loss of a friend, or somehow my behavior isn't exactly as spot on as it usually is. And the person there next to me could be defensive about how I'm acting, or just notice something's off with me and start saying, "Hey, what's going on?" a little bit. But I do know that there's a difference between the actions of the person and the soul of the person. And if you're truly in love with somebody, you fall in love with their soul, maybe not all of their actions. But in general, if they're a good person and there is that, oh my God, I'm doing everything and cleaning up everything and everything else, then you can just say something's got to change. Your responsibility, go to your partner and say, I don't want to do this just like you don't want to do this. So how about if we hire somebody once a week to go do this, and this? So neither of us has to do that, and get to the point where you can solve that problem together. I loved that. I love that, looking at expectations, looking at ways that you can look at the person and still say, this is the person I loved. Now, I want to talk about this part of it, Kim, because I had a friend of mine, they'd been married happily for 35 years, and then he retired. And when he retired, he turned into an alcoholic. He was a wino, actually, is what it was. But he never had a drinking problem before that. And suddenly this addiction showed up. And you're like, okay, that wasn't there in the beginning. And maybe if you were getting married now, that'd be a non negotiable. I don't want to marry an alcoholic. Or suddenly what you do when you realize, well, I love that person, I don't necessarily love that behavior. And I think that's a lot about what can you can be talking about when those things happen. Like, what happens when they have a behavior change that happens, and like, what do you do with that?
Well, I think that love would say there are times to walk away. It's
Beautiful.
okay. There are times to walk away. If you're in an abusive relationship, if you're being physically abused, if you're being mentally, emotionally abused, if all of a sudden he's an alcoholic and uh, or drug addict or something, that is ruining your relationship, walking away is love. Because if you stay, you're enabling the behavior and you're saying that behavior is okay. And that's not love because you're not going to change them,
Yeah.
right? It's something that has to come from within them.
Hmm.
But walking away is love. Walking away says, I love you enough that I'm going to separate from you so that you understand your behavior. I can't live with that behavior. And then maybe something will happen for them. Maybe it won't. You have no control over it. But that is showing love. It's okay to walk away.
So let's talk about the flip of that. Let's say that you fall in love with someone who's deeply in love with you, more than you're in love with you. And suddenly, you're suddenly gaining self love over a period of time. And now you realize that you've outgrown the relationship because now you love you more than you did when you first got married. And I don't care whether it's a man or a woman, but now both of you realize this isn't enough for me. I know that you want to remain where you are and have things absolutely be the same over and over and over again. But now I feel as though I want to grow more, be more, do more, have more. And then suddenly, when you outgrow the relationship, is love still hi, it's time for me to continue on? Or if that person is steadfast, still loves you a lot. I mean, what are your insights for that? I'm sitting with the love doctor right now, asking her all kinds of questions that she was like, oh my God, I didn't know I was going to get asked that question. But, let's talk
I'm
about
loving
that
it
here.
though. I'm loving the
Thank
questions. I think that everybody's life is so individual, right?
you.
I mean, we are all individuals. You talk about self-love. I think about the Mona Lisa. Like, it is, if it would ever went up for auction, how many millions and millions of dollars would it go for? Right. And it's because it's a one of a kind masterpiece, a one of a kind masterpiece, right?
Love it.
And so are you. There has never, ever been anybody exactly like you. There will never be anybody exactly like you. There's never been anyone who has walked exactly in your shoes. You are a one of a kind masterpiece. So love yourself. Look in the mirror, be grateful for that. It's wonderful that we're all individuals. That's a good thing. And so it's so individual. Like if you feel like you've outgrown the relationship, it's not necessarily saying I don't love you anymore to walk
Yeah.
away. It's your choice. Everybody has the choice. They can do what they want to do.
Yeah.
I can say though that it only takes one person to change a relationship. So
Yeah.
often we think, well, I'll change if he does. I'll change if she does. Well, uh, you don't control if they do or if they don't.
That's
So
right.
if you think that you need some response, you're setting yourself up. I mean, you're not really in it. Then you're not really doing it. Uh, Again, early in our relationship, a couple kids in, I was frustrated because I felt like I was doing all the work, right? Like I was doing all the vacuuming, all the piles of laundry, changing diapers and doing it all. I was doing everything, dinner on the table, and he'd come home and put his feet up and work his way over to the dinner table when I put the food on it. And then right after dinner, he'd go take a nap on the couch. And I started looking at him, and all I could see was a paycheck. And I thought, I don't want to be married to a paycheck. Like, what is this? What's he contributing? What is he doing? Why am I in it? It'd be easier. I'd have less laundry. I could make macaroni and cheese for dinner. I wouldn't have to make a big dinner. Thought about all the ways my life would be easier without him. And then I thought, I want a happy marriage. I want a happy marriage. And so I decided that I was going to do everything I could to make him happy. Whatever it was, I was going to do everything I could to make him happy. And I didn't put a time limit on it. I didn't say, I'm going to do this for 4 weeks. And if he doesn't respond, I'm out of here. I decided I was going to do this, period. And so I did. I'd go to the grocery store. I'd bring home his favorite treat, whatever. I would write him a little note before work. I just did everything I could that I could think of that would make him happy. And it changed our marriage dramatically because love has a special way of you do get it back when you give it. And so, of course, he responded because, of course, he started looking at me a different way. But the biggest thing that changed was me because I saw
Yeah.
him differently. I got excited about doing things for him. I loved making him happy. And I changed. I changed.
Beautiful.
So one person can change a relationship.
That's so beautiful what you said. I want to, uh, tell you a story of that myself. I remember the first time I fell really deeply in love. I was just absolutely like I got hit in the head with a bat. And I was trying to figure out what was the best gift I could give my relationship. What's the best gift? And I was really sat with it. I contemplated it for days and days and days and days. And I thought, I'll never lie to this person. This is the best gift I can give is 100% honesty. And at the time, I thought I was giving them a gift. But what I found is that it gave me the gift, the me that could be 100% honest. It completely changed everything about me. And I had so much growth and so much empowerment and so much reality shift. And it helped me become more successful, more money, more life, more relationship. And I thought I was giving them the gift. And really, it was me receiving that gift. I love that you said put 100% in no matter what. So there was somebody else I talked to, was listening to. It was Elena Cardone. They just did the Unbreakable Challenge last week or so. And she was talking about it. And she said, when my husband gives 100% to the relationship and I give 100% to the relationship, it's not 50-50. It's 200%. My 100 plus his 100 is 200%. And that's how we win. That's how we succeed together. I love that. I want to talk about your challenge, your love challenge right now. I want to know a little bit about it and how people can be involved in that. And also, see that book, everybody in the audience, right there. That Love Is book right on the shelf there that I'm seeing right there. That book is on Amazon right now, and you can get a copy of that book. And really, if you want to have deeper, more meaningful relationships, if you want to get to the point where when you die, you understand that you have truly loved and lived, then you want to get that book right there and read that book to help you get that out of you. Everybody is love. How you use it in your lifetime, that's quality of life. And this is where you're going to learn to have that quality of life reading that book. So let's talk about the 5-day challenge or the challenge that you have. I don't even know if it's 5 days. Is it
Yeah,
5 days?
14-day love challenge.
Challenge. It's a
Right.
14-day challenge. Great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So what it is it's just a little something that you read each day that makes you think about a different aspect of love, and then
Beautiful.
you look for it that day and see where you can find it and figure it out. So it's just really something to think about. It's easy. It's not hard. It doesn't, you don't have to take a test at the end. There's nothing. You don't have to go to Haiti for a year and live to find a year of love. All you have to do is just read a little something every day and see, just see. And if you sign up for it, when you sign up for it on my website, if you want me to, I will send you for free a WWLD wristband. What would love do? Because if you can
Ooh.
answer anything that way, you will be doing the right thing.
What would love do? Oh my God, Kim, that is so inspiring. I love that so much. So, if you're out there right now and you're feeling blue or you're feeling excited, or maybe you're really looking at a relationship and thinking, oh, this is serious and I want it to be long term. And both of you are thinking long term right now. If you're in the middle of your marriage and it's lost the spice, it's lost the, part of you that feels involved. If you're overwhelmed in the marriage and you're thinking, man, I want out, I want out, I want out. I just don't know what to do anymore. I'm going to ask you to do this 14-day challenge. Before you throw that towel in, before you say I do, before you're thinking I don't know what to do, you have options right now where you can learn how love can be part of the quality of life that you want to have. And that is that maybe we have to learn and take a different point of view, have a different concept of what love is, and let's learn that. And over that 14 days, you're going to be able to have the question to you every day. And if you'd like, you can get a What Would Love Do band. Because I mean, to me, that's a big idea. It's like, there it is on my hand. What would love do? What would love do? Go ahead and get the book Love Is right now. And trust me, if you want quality of life, you have to take a new action, not a familiar action, a new action. And the biggest, strongest action you can take is always in love. I want to thank you, Kim, for being on the show today. It was extraordinary. You are extraordinary. You were so open, so vulnerable, and so raw with one of the everybody wants this. Everybody wants to talk about it, but they don't realize the actions that it needs to happen in order to have that be fulfilling in there. And today, the truth bombs that you just dropped blew my mind. And I'm really thank you for this conversation today. It was extraordinary.
Well, I so enjoyed it. You are wonderful. You are extraordinary. And I love how you look at love. You added a lot to my life, so thank you for that.
All right. This has been the Coffee Break Show. Every week, we bring you the best experts from around the world. And next week, it'll be the same. And as well, all I want to say is have a great week, and I'll see you next week.